and this way it can sit down into that wood once the bottom is on. Now I could have used my plunge router to route this out, and that would have been a lot easier being that it had a wider base. But if you have a trim router, it's probably best to leave a little island in the middle to use that as support, then come back and use the chisel and shave that down. I did one more test fit just to make sure everything was good before I moved on. Now I should have put the wireless charging in its place prior to attaching the frame, but this made it more challenging than it should have been. Nonetheless, I got it routed out, and the next thing I was to do was to route out the section for the power cord. I also pre-drilled a few holes in the bottom panel so I can attach it later. And while I was at it, I also went ahead and drilled out the back panel for the power cable to pass through. I sanded the entire desk down to get it prepped up for applying the finish. It was around this time where I decided that I didn't want to paint it, and I wanted to try something new by wrapping it with vinyl. And I already had this on hand because it was for another project. And prior to this project, I'd never used vinyl before, so I was a bit nervous on what I was going to run into. So after applying the first layer, I actually learned some things along the way, and I was able to address the second piece a little better. So there may be a lot of things I'm doing the hard way, but this is what worked for me at the time. So what I did first was flip the board over and make sure I lined it up from the backside. I then applied a few pieces of tape to hold that in place. Then I peeled off some of the back. Now this stuff is quite sticky, so after fighting with it and getting it loose, I was able to start applying it to the surface. And the important thing to know is that this doesn't really hide anything, so anything you have in your work surface is actually going to show through the vinyl. Before cutting this material, I tried a few pieces on a small piece of scrap wood just so I can figure out the corners. I first made a straight line, then I came back from the corners and pulled out to create a triangle. I tried many different techniques, whether it's using the heat gun or just different ways to wrap it. This one seems to be the best way for me, so this is what I stuck with. So now looking back at this, the piece that's up in the air, I should have cut that off and allowed the sides to just wrap right over. Now I think it's fine the way it is right now, but it's just a little thicker than it would have been had it just been that one layer. And with the corners now tucked in, it's a little easier to adhere the sides. So this was the first time I got a little nervous in this project, was when I created this bubbled area right now. And I thought for a second that, man, I don't know how to fix this. But I grabbed the heat gun just to experiment and applied some heat to it and also spread it out some, and wow, what a difference. That actually helped out a ton. So I managed to get extremely close, almost eliminating that vein line. Now I didn't want to overdo it, so I called it quits. So one thing I learned here is that the heat is actually your friend. It can help you solve a few problems. For the bottom of the desk and also the back panel, I'm going to use some black paint to finish that off. If there were one thing that I would change in the design, is the location for the outlet that I have and also the grommet that I'm drilling in right now. In a perfect world, I would have shipped these notes that basically the tackle the power cord is to just use wire mold, and that would cover a majority of it. The other way is to just leave it as it is, but there's also another way that's a little more complicated and it would give you the cleanest look, and that's to wire an outlet from the desk directly into a local outlet. Unless you have experience with electrical, I would definitely steer you away from that option. So towards the bottom of the remove some of this material. proud to say that this one's complete, and all I need now is some no need for power tools or anything, just mount it on the wall with magnets.